Alrighty.
Most of my experience is that office chair are better than gaming chair for gaming chair.
Absolutely. 100%. Office
By the way,
chairs and
I've been on a Tolkien kick, and I downloaded the original Middle Earth role-playing game. I haven't read it yet, though.
Oh, nice. Alrighty. Welcome to session 9. America session 3. Last time, you guys braved the basement of the Juju house. Found some rather horrifying things down below, including some ambulatory rotting corpses that tried to make mincemeat out of poor Volador, who is once again battered and bruised and beaten. You did manage to defeat those creatures, put them back to their final rest. Quickly checking the what appeared to be a ritual space of some nature, found a bedroom down below with some ornaments and tomes and items related to this strange religion, reminiscent of things you had encountered in Peru. Basically, things tied to the Cthulhu mythos. You also found a strong box that, once you opened it back at the hotel, had personal belongings to some of the victims of the murder spree that has happened over the last 2 years in Harlem. It's not conclusive evidence, but it is direct evidence linking this cult, the cult of the Bloody Tongue, to those murders. It may be enough to get Lieutenant Poole or Rebecca Schauschenberg's attention to elicit aid from them. And there's a possibility that you may gain more information when you speak with the man currently on death's row for those murders that you have an appointment with on Monday.
which is in hours, isn't it? Or I thought it was already Sunday.
It's Sunday. It's Sunday evening. Amongst the various
Scheduled for Monday morning, I think.
your appointment at Sing Sing is in the morning. Amongst the various things you found a book called I think it was Dark Sects of Africa, SECTS, from the Harvard Library. Probably the book that Elias was trying to get that had been reported as missing from their library.
So
Oh, go ahead.
I just want to understand something. Evil, dark books like this are just apparently available in libraries. Like, that's a thing.
At university libraries.
Yep.
Okay. Well,
Miskatonic University, or however you pronounce it.
Yeah, good old Miskatonic U. Well, a lot of these works are, they're scholarly books, right? They're dark and depraved, but they are scholarly works.
In the future, we start censoring stuff like Dr. Seuss and that kind of nonsense.
exactly. That's kind of I'm like, just find that in the library.
That's right.
You also found a strange carved wooden mask with 4 faces on it that I think it was Evelyn made the roll. But one of you made the roll to identify the 4 faces as mythic beings in this strange religion. Specifically, I'll find my list. Nodens, Azathoth, Shub-Niggurath, and Yog-Sothoth. You don't know exactly what those names mean, but whoever was made the roll remembered seeing pictographs of similar faces associated with those names.
Yeah, I think Anita made that roll.
You also found a burnished copper bowl etched with unrecognizable runes. You found a gray metal headband with, again, various runes inscribed on it that was surprisingly heavy and warm to the touch. You found a carved scepter with Egyptian hieroglyphs on it that Dr. Carter deciphered that said, Nyambe, thy power be mine. And recognized that Nyambe is a Western and Southern African name for the supreme deity of one of the African religions. What really stood out, because it was modern as opposed to some sort of ancient relic, was a marine chronometer mounted on the wall that was set to GMT, to Greenwich Mean Time. Evelyn deduced that if there are multiple groups around the world, which is what Elias's notes indicated he had stumbled upon, that using a common time zone would enable them to sync up and better orchestrate activities.
That's clever.
And that, I believe, is the total of what you found as you returned to your hotel Sunday evening.
Because I was just going to say, when I was taking some notes, I didn't put a scepter, but I wrote that we found a copper bowl that had symbols on it.
Yep, you found the scepter as well.
I remember taking that scepter.
Yep.
And the bowl was deciphered by Anija.
Correct. And you guys did take like all of the anything that you thought might be an important artifact, you guys took with you.
And we opted not to burn the place down.
And opted not to burn the place down.
Are we still on that? Like we could go back? No?
But no, but yeah.
So Alvin is trying to put together some way to get all this to stick to a like as part of a police involvement, because in his opinion, and he's going to share that with everyone who wants to or can hear, if we get rid of these people for attempted murder, then there's going to be no more ritualistic terrible things because they'll all be in jail. It's two birds, one stone. And the police has way more resources than we do if we can get them to move against this cult, because they can go after not only the lead cult members, but go deep into the entire thing, because they're all technically accomplices.
You propose that we approach them and say we found these things that are linked, but
That's
get
my
us
problem.
arrested for trespass.
That's my problem. Is we need to find, so this box, I'm all for planting evidence. I mean, every good cop does it, right? So we need to take this box, we need to put it in the right place, and then we need to get the cops to go in, because there's probable cause, go after this place and find it. The issue is we need to put it in a place where it will implicate, and they will be able to keep going down the list of the rest of the suspects, of the rest of these crazy cultists. Any ideas? Is there any links at all that we have found so we could put it in a nexus of these people other than the Juju house?
Well, we could put it at the Juju house.
The problem is that the Juju house is in the jurisdiction of a cop that's already been paid off.
Right. Do we know where this... No, that won't work.
I mean, we have the ledger of all the people who have purchased these swords or all these other things. We just don't know which one of them are cultists or not.
Well, what if we just put the box at the Juju house and then called what's her face to come take a look?
The cops. Okay, this is the cops are going to do one or two things, and this is my experience, right? They're either going to say they didn't find it, and it's all like hearsay, or two, right? Because we're going to give it to the we're gonna tip off the newspapers, so the newspapers are going to put pressure on the cops to do something about it, and then that gives an opportunity for them to get rid of it before the cops show up. We need Pool or someone that is uncorruptible to be able to act on information, to find planted evidence, to chase these people down. We need a single cult member who is in Pool's jurisdiction.
We could have a talk with Pool.
Oh wait, there's one in custody, right?
There is.
What do we know about that guy?
Poole said he'd share information with us once they interrogated the guy. I mean, it was only a day ago that all this happened. I know it feels like it's been weeks.
Is that the guy that I tracked down and beat up?
Yep.
Yes. And the other thing is, how willing is he to roll over on his friends?
Imagine it depends what he's in charge.
I'm sorry, is someone trying to talk? Because they're like coming in really cannily.
Saying that it depends on what he's being charged with and how many years in prison he's facing. He might sing like the proverbial canary in that case, or he could be a fanatic, and fanatics you cannot convince.
Most importantly, we cannot be found with the box. Let's agree with that.
Very true.
So what do we do with it?
Well, my thought, which is not a popular thought, is to put it somewhere in the Juju house where it's relatively safe and then light the fucking place on fire.
But that won't kill. But that will not kill every single one of those cultists.
It won't, but if we call Pool and say anonymously that we believe there's evidence there
Pool
that has
can't
something
go.
to do with a murder that happened in his jurisdiction, then if you're right convincing, maybe Pool can get there first.
So it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. If there is something that goes into outside of his jurisdiction, then it ends up being taken over either by joint, but led by the jurisdiction it's in right now. Chris, the FBI has already been founded, right?
I think it's in its fledgling days, maybe. But they definitely would not have any jurisdiction over this case.
Absolutely not, because they only deal with cross state lines at this point, right?
Exactly.
1908 for the FBI,
Oh, nice. But yeah,
according to Google.
but yeah, the FBI, they have a very specific mandate.
At the beginning, it's cross.
Yeah, it's cross state lines and certain crimes. Like I think the FBI gets involved in like prohibition-based crimes, bootleggings, that sort of thing.
All right, so who was the bad guy? The head figure at Juju House, Silas.
Silas was the proprietor. Yes.
Right,
He had a leader's mask under his bed. I don't think he's dead. He was selling shit at the Juju house.
we never found him though.
Correct. When you
He was
visited,
not in.
yeah, there was nobody there.
Oh, here's a horrifying thought that my character doesn't want to think of, but are any of the faces of the horrible dispossessed people that we had to kill The zombies, did they look like anyone?
Give me a education roll.
No. No. An education roll. Okay, let's see. Why is my C not working? C. No, that's not working. Okay, let me find my investigator. Alvin Sharp. Education. Where is education?
It's an attribute.
Oh, sorry. Not education. Roll. Nope. Not even close.
Actually, I think. Actually, this would be more an intelligence roll. I'm trying to remember the difference between like a no roll and like a.
I can roll anything. It is not
Yeah.
difficult to push buttons.
Yeah, I think it would be intelligence actually.
I am smarter than I am educated. But not. Oh,
Not really.
only 2 points. I will spend 2 lucks to pass. Yes.
Okay.
Nice.
Some of the thinking back, the hindsight of distance. You realize that some of those people they were in pretty bad shape. I mean, they were definitely rotting. They were definitely, whatever magic animated them did not slow the decay of the bodies. But you're pretty sure that 1 or 2 of those bear a resemblance to the more recent murder victims.
Wait, hold on. The more recent murder victims?
Yep.
What?
Like the murders, there's been 9 murders over the last 2 years, right?
Right, but those bodies are accounted for.
They were.
I share this very close fact with
Oh.
the people. So they're also grave robbers?
Can't put anything past a deranged cult.
Okay, so here's my idea. You're not going to like it. We're going to stock it. You can't say no until I say my idea.
Well, you told me I'm not going to like it, so I can say that already off the bat.
Oh, all right. So we stake out the juju house. When Silas comes back, we thump him on the back of the head. Right? And then after we thump him on the back of the head, we drag him out of the Bronx into Manhattan, or vice versa. I can't remember who's in charge of what. Dump him in a something with the box, and make sure he doesn't wake up until the detective shows up. Anonymous call, right? That way, it's on his jurisdiction.
Not the most educated of men, but if they were digging up these bodies, does that mean a lot? They're going to dig up Elias?
Ooh.
Now, just focus for a minute. We're dealing with the box.
Right, but that means that we could plant the box with the gravediggers.
Or with Silas, right? We just got to thump on the back of the head.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, someone's digging up graves? What?
So I've come to the conclusion that the horrible bodies that we ran into, that we had to shoot a lot underneath, were in fact the victims of the murders, which leads me to the assumption that, or the question is, are they going to dig up Silas's grave? Because none of the bodies were missing. They're all identified and all the murdered victims were buried.
I'm sorry, you're saying that people who had been previously interred were moving
Zombies we
around in
fought.
the basement.
They were the zombies we fought. You missed a
Ixnay on
good
the term
education
zombies. We
roll.
don't know. We did not. We don't know the term zombies yet, right? That doesn't happen yet.
I got to trademark that.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be big.
It'd be around by here. White Zombie.
I thought originally-
1931.
Yeah, I thought originally that it might have been some of the like that they got sick or something, and that some of the cultists transformed into these things. Turns out it's the murder victims, which means that they were disinterred. Which
Or
then
take it
is
out of the morgue.
well, no, most of the families like they had funerals. If you remember the newspaper clippings or funerals listed. And besides, if they got lifted from the morgue, it'd be a separate entire investigation. What happened to the bodies in the morgue?
Yeah, they were definitely there was funerals and stuff. You know, like in Elias's case, they can't bury him yet because the ground is frozen because it's January in New York. But the other bodies would have been, you know, full on cemetery because the last murder happened in October. So yes, and it's if they had gone missing from the morgue, that would have opened a whole other investigation and been way more noticeable than, you know, emptying out a grave when nobody's looking.
So, topic of conversation is box full of evidence and how to plant it
Where
on the
do we
cultist.
plant that? Yeah, where do we plant that?
So, this is mine. The rest of you chime in however you want. Mine is we bag Silas, we bring him into the right jurisdiction, and dump him in a dumpster with the evidence, and we give an anonymous phone call to the police.
Silas is the one who runs the Juju house, yes?
Right, but the Juju house is in the wrong spot because the chief is on the
Police.
payroll.
Right.
So we got to get him out of there into somewhere else.
I mean, we can simply tomorrow's Monday. We can ask Pool, hey, what would it take for you to open an investigation? What do you need to find? And then we can make that happen.
It's an option. It's not an option that includes thumping Silas, though. And Silas.
Well,
needs
it might.
thumping.
It might. It might. He might say we need a dude with evidence, and if he shows up on corner of X and Y and he's there, it's all good.
Is
I
going
think
to
we should talk to
that-
Silas. But I'm not ready to thump anybody. I need bed rest, preferably in a hospital.
Yes, you definitely do.
I was going to say that the police got their man. Their man is rotting in a prison. I'm sure they are going to want incredible evidence produced in order to reopen a case that has already been, as far as I'm sure the police and the authorities are concerned, is shut.
I have to ask, what would it take?
Of questions if they ask, why are you even bringing this up?
Well, Pool is kind of on our side. He knows that there's more. He thinks that there's more to it already.
That's valid. I think Poole does.
So you're talking about approaching Pool and not necessarily the people at Sing Sing.
People at Sing Sing are going to give us information, just general information. Then we ask Pool, what does it take? And then those circumstances will mysteriously come to pass with the evidence required.
Which
Make sure that
is gonna put a spotlight on us, right?
Not us.
If you talk to Poole and Poole says do A, B, C, and D, and we do A, B, C, and D.
Well, yes.
I think it depends on what A, B, C, and D are and how we go about that.
And Poole's not an idiot, right? I mean, if he tells us, it's because he knows that something is afoot.
I got another idea. You're not
Am
gonna
I
like
going to
it.
like this one? Oh, God.
No. So we stake out Silas. Right? We wait
In
at
the
the juju
jurisdiction
house.
we can't touch.
Correct.
Okay.
And then when he shows up, we thump him. And then once we thump him, we tie him up, thump him some more, talk to him, and then we take him in the box and drop it off at the police station in the right jurisdiction. Like friendly neighborhood investigators. With a note. It says friendly neighborhood investigators.
Poole would definitely know it was us.
I don't think he would care, but I don't know how it would stick. I mean, I'd like to catch them red-handed trying to abscond with the corpse, and then they end up finding other information that leads them to the next piece, and then leads them to the next piece, and then they uncover the entire plot.
I mostly want to beat the shit out of Silas.
Yeah, I kind of got that. I don't think Silas was the fourth man who killed our friend. He's too old for that.
I think this entire cult is responsible for killing my friend.
Right, but I think that you want to thump the person who did it.
I want to thump this entire cult. And I have a lawyer with $50,000 who's going to make sure that I have all the resources I need to thump this entire cult. And I'm going to start with Silas because he seems the most important fellow that we've found so far.
But our resources are still limited. If the police goes after them, they can corral all of them.
I agree. We just need to take that box of evidence and give it to the police. That's what you're saying. Yeah.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that box of evidence needs to be found in due process. Look, I'm not a big fan of all of the rules, but you can't just show up with evidence and give it to someone. They're going to ask where it came from. And if it was obtained in an illegal fashion, it is not usable. So
It's a
the
dumb rule.
so the police needs to be able to find it. And it's fine if the accused always turn around and say it's not mine, I didn't put it there, or I don't know how it got there, and that's fine. They're expecting that. But they found it through a course of a legitimate investigation by following the police rules. And then the weight of the New York Police Department can fall on the entire cult and take them apart at the seams.
Well, this particular section of the cult.
What do you mean this particular section?
This thing, they have a chronometer. They're talking to people in China and
They could have pen pals
Africa.
in China. Right.
Like, this isn't done if we deal with New York.
We are trying to find justice for our murdered friend. Whatever insanity these people think they are doing, whatever hoopla that they're involved with, is frankly not our problem at this point.
Well, not yours maybe, but this hoopla is very much in my wheelhouse.
Right. So you tell me when we need to act. And we don't have anything other than there is a clock, which means They might be marine enthusiasts as opposed to, yes, I guarantee that this is a worldwide organization.
We absolutely know that this cult, whatever it is, spans more than just here. We know this.
Yes, that's fact.
And we have a nice little trust fund sitting with the lawyer to make sure we have all the resources that we need to make sure that we deal with every one of these people. And I intend to do that, but we got to deal with this one first. And the expert here is Alvin. Alvin tells me we have to take this box of evidence and make sure that the right cop finds it. That's my
right.
understanding.
That's 100% right.
And what will that accomplish again?
Well, inside
Getting
the
one
box
person put away?
No, not one person. The goal is to be able to unravel the entirety of the cult. So for them to find this in a nexus that will be able to lead them to start unraveling the entirety of the cult as opposed to just one person. Silas is a tool simply because he seems to be at the middle of it.
Not to mention, there's a fellow on death row who's
wants to
going
get
to
out?
be dead if we don't solve this problem, right? That's something
That's
we
right.
should consider too.
And we're quite certain he's innocent.
Yeah.
Well, we just found the bodies of the people he's accused of killing. They got up and tried to kill us in the bottom of the Juju house.
Yes.
And we have mementos from the victim that we found in Silas's bedroom. So
That is a bit grisly. That points to grave robbing, certainly. A bit unusual grave robbing, given that he took the bodies as well, apparently. I think you're going to have trouble convincing the police that animated corpses were attacking anyone.
I agree. That's why
But
they need to find.
finding bodies in the basement is certainly going to indicate that something is extremely not quite right.
And the trophies of the murder victims as well.
That could just be depending on what sorts of trophies they were, that could just be the results of the grave robbing. If you're stealing bodies out of a grave, theoretically, in a non-occult frame of mind, then you're doing it because they have on their wedding ring or their grandmother's heirloom necklace or what have you.
You're talking about stealing the gold out of the plumbing of the people's teeth?
Essentially. So, and don't get me wrong, my understanding is that it's definitely a crime. Interfering with the remains of someone is never good. But they're not going to look at him for murder. They're going to look at him for grave robbing and theft.
That's okay because we
That's
know
fine.
that the
It's
murders
still,
are involved, so they can keep going down that line of investigation and find the murderers and find his accomplices and keep going down that road, right?
but
It is
they
often,
have a murderer that they've already convicted. They're
but
not
there's
going
another murder
to.
outstanding, Elias's murder. You just need to get
Yes.
them for the one.
Chris, my
Yes.
understanding is that box of evidence, in theory, could exonerate the fellow that's in prison.
Actually, everybody can give me a law roll.
Law.
I think I'm the only one with law, is what I'm going to guess. And I did not take a lot of it.
Evan
I have
has a-
5, and I want to roll anyway.
Yep.
I have 40. I have watched a few episodes of CSI.
I blew that one big time.
Oh, I'm going to push that.
He's spending 6 luck.
6? Just 6? Holy cow!
Yeah, I rolled. Yeah, I rolled an 11.
Oh well, then maybe I don't need to.
Holy crow!
Yeah, I could do it. I could do it with 9, but 6 is better.
Let's see. Luther rolled an 11. Salvador rolled a 72. Volador rolled a 92.
Oh, it's all right. I
Yeah.
thought I rolled the 11. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Alvin got an 83 and Evelyn got a 70.
Chris, before I push this roll, what are the
Yeah.
consequences?
Well, you have to tell me what exactly you are doing to push a law roll. There are some samples I will give you. Give me half a second. Because when
I
you're
don't know if I.
If you fail a pushed roll, something bad happens.
Well, but we also get to know what those consequences are before we push it.
True.
yeah, you get an idea as to what the consequences are. So pushing
That's kind of
examples.
where I'm going.
So you can delay to consider argument. You can basically bend the letter of the law to drive home your argument. You can take significant time to conduct your research. Failing would basically mean misinterpreting the law or being willing to step outside the accepted legal procedure in order to break the law, possibly drawing police attention, wasting time and resource, that sort of thing.
Mm.
Or Luther could spend 6 luck.
Or Luther can spend 6 luck.
I'm happy to spend 6. I think it's safer to spend 6 than to push the roll.
Fair.
Want me to spend it?
I mean, I'm game.
Spend.
All right. So the evidence that's in here, it doesn't necessarily exonerate anyone. What it does is it ties the cult to those previous murders. So if you can conclusively link Elias's murder to the cult, because Elias's murder happened after Hilton was incarcerated for the crimes. So if you can link his murder to the cult and the cult to the other murders, it opens up the avenue for reasonable doubt.
Which I think we have with the daggers and the red scars,
He's
right?
convicted. He's convicted already. So
Right. But it's enough for a lawyer to perhaps, at the very least, get a stay of execution as new evidence comes to light, right? They may be able to talk down, get a stay of execution as they try to use Hilton to get more information on the cult because they'll presume that he's involved with them.
okay.
So it's not enough to get him out of prison. It is probably enough to get him off of death's row. And then the rest will be up to lawyers.
Damn lawyers.
But you do have the fact that you guys are eyewitnesses to the cult escaping after Elias's murder. You have one handed over for custody. You have the knives, both that were turned over to the police for evidence, and the same knives at the Juju house. You've got a bunch of there's basically a whole bunch of circumstantial evidence tying everything together, and it is more than enough to get a dogged police inspector or a determined reporter to start poking around.
So the choice is between law or journalist.
And the other thing I'll give you with the law roll is the reporter. The reporter's not going to care how she gets the box of evidence.
That's right.
Good. Yeah, that makes sense.
Will leave us out of it.
Well, she's going to get pressured by the police department when she
Yeah,
goes
no.
public. And then
Hopefully
once she
won't
goes
give her
public,
choices.
because once she goes public, she's a target.
Right, but she's not going to give up a source.
That's why she's a target. That's why if we go directly to the police, they can start applying pressure in all the right places as opposed to it being oblique.
All right, new idea. You're not going to like it.
Ugh.
So we take out the Juju house and we thump Silas. And then we deliver Silas and the box to the journalist.
And what's she going to do with a kidnapped person?
Okay.
Look, I think Silas is the right play. Do we know? Does he live at the Juju house? Yes, right?
Yeah.
Seems to.
We've been in his room.
If we could find another cultist who lives in a different jurisdiction, we could plant the box there and send the cops there to unravel the whole thing.
Exactly what I was thinking. If there is a cult member who lives within the jurisdiction of those two good ones that we think are good, is unless they have some kind of membership ledger somewhere trying to figure out who else is a member and where they reside.
Tried to in finding the ledgers, but the ledgers didn't give us enough information. The other option is to wait for them to have another gathering. God knows how long that's going to take, and then follow one of them home. And hope that whichever one we're following is in the right jurisdiction, which is too much to chance.
Miss Collins, here's an idea. You might like this.
How come
Alvin
she
will.
gets to like your plans?
She's a little more spunky than you. So we call the journalist and we give the journalist the box and some indication of the ramifications. Enough for a story. And then we stake out the Juju house, and when Silas shows up, we thump him. And then we could just shoot him. We don't need to keep him anymore.
I would never recommend shooting someone, but
Well, you don't have to.
giving the box to the journalist sounds like a fine plan. She will,
Okay.
no doubt, hunt down as much information as possible about every single thing in the box, and will do as much socially for the fellow in jail as can
Okay.
be done.
So we can do those things. We see our friend in jail. We ask Lieutenant Poole what would it take, and we give the evidence to the newspaper lady, and then we see what pieces move.
I think we leave the cops out of this. We give it to the journalist, let the journalist do all the shit. And then we just thump Silas. Because he needs thumped. Right?
I will leave that to those of you who do thumping.
I think we're
I
thump.
do other
I think
things, but thumping isn't one of them.
yes. Considering every time we've gotten into a fight in New York, it has gone very poorly for some of us. I am not for doing that on purpose.
As far as I could tell, Silas was responsible. He's the highest ranking member that we've identified in killing my friend.
But he was not the one who killed him.
I don't care if he's responsible for it. He needs to pay for it.
I didn't say he wasn't going to pay for it.
It's just easier to arrest if he's
You
in a
can-
dumpster all piece of shit.
You can always thump him. He's an old man. Whether it be today, tomorrow, the day after, you will be able to thump this man. How about we try to get some justice here? And if justice fails, or even if justice succeeds and you feel like you need to take something into your own hands, that is a problem for a later time. Right now, if we thump him
What?
and something happens, it is possible that the entire investigation can get derailed because they're going to look at who assaulted the poor old man. as opposed to looking at him as a mastermind. I agree with you, Ms. Collins.
Which part?
I think that we should give the evidence. I don't know if we should give the evidence, but at least that evidence should be presented to Rebecca. Even Rebecca was looking to speak to George. Was it George who's in jail?
Hilton.
Hilton, who's in jail. She was even looking to speak to him. So if we have that and we can package both of those for her, we can do it in one piece. We might be able to draw connections between both. So I would suggest on Monday, we speak to Hilton and then we package everything for Rebecca.
Any reason we shouldn't talk to Rebecca tonight?
Because it's in the afternoon, it's late, and we might give her something that we might find good information when we speak to George that might help us or help put all this together faster. And honestly, I'm tired. I do want to sleep, and I know that our good friend Salvatore, was it Salvatore who got sliced?
Volador.
Yeah.
Alador.
Volador. And our good friend Volador needs at least one night of recovery.
Need some time in a hospital. Actually, maybe Voltor, you and me will go to the hospital. See if we can start getting you patched up. You guys could do the prison visit and talk with the journalist.
In fact, you can spend overnight from tonight to tomorrow. We can come get you after the prison visit.
All right, sounds good. I'll keep an eye on Voltor. You guys don't screw up. Right? Thumbs up.
Alvin at this point in time looks around the table and like, I wonder who's going to talk to Hilton tomorrow. And he looks around the table and he's like, ah, crap.
That would be you.
It's a hard luck life.
All right. So yes. Um, so Luther, you can get Volador to the hospital easily. They'll give him like some painkillers. They'll keep him for observation overnight, but stitch up his pretty messed up wounds.
Yeah, he'll stay with him just cause, right?
Okay, perfect. In the meantime, though, Dr. Carter was kind of absently flipping through the Africa's Dark Sex book. So it's a green cloth covered book, 6 inches by 8.25 inch, 328 pages. The date of publication is listed as being 1921. The book is in very poor condition. Spine broken, back cover cracked, multiple pages are dog-eared. There's margin notes in pencil. Written by Nigel Blackwell, no listed publisher.
Oh, you poor thing.
Yeah.
Is it a first edition?
It is.
Aren't we in 1921?
You're in 1925.
Oh, okay. Still. That's
For
fast.
4 years.
So just as you kind of absolutely skim it, the book seems to collect the papers of Nigel Blackwell, kind of like a self-funded African explorer. There is no organization to this. There's no index. There's no table of contents. The topics vary widely as you're just flipping through it. But the focus of it seems to be on African cults and esoteric religious practices. The more gruesome or vile or deplorable, the better. So things like cannibalism and bestiality are like the lighthearted topics in this book. Talks about like East Africa, East Africa, Belgian Congo, West Africa, so on and so forth. It goes into fairly gruesome detail on the various things. It's very clinical in its presentation and style. It outlines rites and practices of numerous different African groups. And some of the margin notes seem to indicate trace links between these African religions and cults in America and elsewhere. The writing style is quite dense. You do catch note of a segment about the bloody tongue, describing some of their paraphernalia and symbology, which directly correlate to what you've seen at Juju House. There is a reference to something called the Mountain of the Black Wind, but no real details on it. And the spine has been kind of broken open to a section regarding a delta, Niger River Delta's cult, necromantic rites designed to raise the dead and make them into slaves. That's what you pick up upon an initial reading. But because this is a mythos tome,
Open and you were keeping it to that page.
all right.
When you say broken open, do you mean they were keeping it at that page?
Sorry, what was that?
When you say broken open, are you meaning they were keeping it at that page?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe some proof to that.
Chris, how you describe this book, it sounds to me like the writings of a madman, but like barely veiled together by like an academic schooling to put it all together.
Yes.
Okay.
So an
It
additional.
seems like a man with money, so we need to say eccentric, not mad.
I was gonna say, does Dr. Carter has English as a language, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. For some reason, it is not on your sheet, so I can't use the automatically study a book rules. So, good news, bad news. The good news is you get a bump to your Cthulhu Mythos skill.
That's the good news, eh?
So the way tomes work is there's what you get after, like, over an initial reading, which is basically skimming. So basically while they are arguing and then continuing on after everybody like goes their separate ways, goes to bed, so on and so forth. So your Cthulhu Mythos goes up by 2%.
Nothing comes of this. Carrying on.
So my max sanity goes down by 2.
So your max sanity goes down by 2.
Technically, that means that his mythos rating increased by 100% because he still always automatically exceeds on a 1, right?
Yep.
All right.
Okay. So 1 sec here. Let me add on your new Cthulhu. Up to 5% now.
Playing with fire.
And the question is just his sanity that goes down. It's not his maximum sanity that goes down, right?
It is his maximum sanity that goes down.
Oh, okay. Well then.
Which at this stage of the game is probably better. Maybe.
And as you start to absorb the horrifying things that are in this book, you lose 3 sanity. That could have been so much worse.
He got off pretty light,
Got
all
off
things considered.
got off pretty late. What fascinates and horrifies you as you're reading this book long after everybody else has gone to bed, and you're just sitting there kind of absently turning pages, is it actually lays out the ritual necessary to create what is called a Simba.
Undead thing.
It is an undead servant. It's apparently it is traced back to sorcerers in Kenya. It creates an undead servant. The person chosen must die by ritual mutilation, And then the priest chants over the remains of the body from the moment life leaves it until it reanimates, which takes anywhere from 18 to 20 hours. But if you're ever in the mood where you would like to create a zombie, just let me know.
No.
I'll be able to say I have an idea, but you're not gonna like it, too.
The ritual, to your limited understanding, the ritual does not seem to slow the decay of the body. So it must be kind of fresh victims need to be found periodically as your undead servants rot and turn into goop.
Ew.
Jaime has a ton of questions. Alvin is very happily ignorant of all of this.
I'll make you speak to y'all about this, but not about everything I've read. Like, there's a few details that might help the investigation. No more. I'll keep the sanity warping thing to myself.
But I will add the spell to your character sheet.
More cells, which are all terrible right now.
Yay! He can bring us back if we die.
All
You
right.
can assess this way.
So after this discussion and realizing that it's probably a pretty good plan, talk to Hilton first, see what else he may be able to add to the equation, and then present what you know to Rebecca, since she's not fettered by the bounds of law. Especially because she seemed to be a very eager reporter. She's obviously a very good reporter because she's a young female reporter working the crime beat of the New York Times.
In the 20s.
In the 20s. That's not the sort of...
Obviously very keen.
She's obviously very keen and very talented and, knows what to do in order to secure and keep this job. So everybody goes to sleep. I will initiate a rest phase.
Nice.
You're still
I thought you were
mortally
going to
wounded,
ask us
so
for shifts.
if you guys want to leave, have watches or whatever, feel free.
I'm at the hospital. I'm just going to sleep in a chair next to Voltor.
Okay.
On your left.
I'm going to
We ain't
brace a
keeping
chair.
watches. We're sleeping.
I'm bracing a chair under my door at the hotel.
All right.
Just in case.
Didn't they come in through the window?
They did.
Shh. That's not helping.
So as you sleep, as you drift off to a restful night,
No.
you wake up. All of you wake up, shivering, cold, standing in the middle of a deserted New York street. The sky above you a dark blood red color. There are bodies in the snowbanks. Some of them look torn asunder. Some of them look like they've been savagely mutilated. You see each other in this dreamscape. You kind of look around, you look up, and you see that the sky is not just the color is off, but the stars are misaligned. What stars you can see? You see a very large flying snake-like creature fly overhead, easily the size of a small bungalow. Its tail whipping back and forth, and as you look, it looks like it has something resembling a human kind of entwined in its tail. And as you look and you see this, it lets out this horrifying screeching sound, the sort of sound that you will remember for the rest of your days. And it starts to like beeline towards you. Thinking that you don't want to be here, you take off running. Evelyn,
Yes.
Evelyn, you find that you can run perfectly fine.
Oh, that's strange.
And you find yourselves kind of like hiding from this thing in an alley as it like literally demolishes buildings trying to find you. Just the sheer bulk and mass of this creature. Periodically, it lets out that scream again. To those of you that are trained in animal handling, like Dr. Carter, it seems almost like it's using some form of echolocation. And you kind of like will yourselves to be still. And who's got the highest luck?
We got 53.
I've only got 33.
Chris, you described it. Does it have a color, or is it just like this dream-like shape?
It's just like a black on black shape. You can't make out any real details.
And my mind is describing a dragon, but when you say a lizard thing, but you didn't say it had wings or anything like that. So
It has a singular wing that it has somehow managed to keep itself aloft with.
Well, of course it does.
I left him 56.
Okay. And Salvador's is 52. So
It's currently in his 20s.
yeah, so I think Dr. Carter currently has the highest luck. So as you're
Wait briefly, what did I miss? Something? What, you just saw a dragon thing or a snake?
yep, as everybody is
Plastic
sleeping,
bottle.
having a restful night's sleep.
it's a dream.
But Dr. Carter, as you look down in this alley, you see a crumpled up, discarded newspaper. And you pick it up, and you can't read it. It's normal in dreams that you can't actually read anything. It's like a scientific anomaly. But you can clearly see the date on this newspaper as January 23rd, 1926.
January 23rd.
1926.
That's the future.
That's like a year from now.
Yes, it is.
And then just as this thing finds you, you snap awake, like sitting up in your beds, like panting, drenched in sweat. And you can still hear the screams of that creature echoing.
Am I sure they're not my screams?
They could
It might be Evelyn's screams. Evelyn definitely screams awake.
The other
So
unusual
Alvin-
thing for a dream is you all clearly remember this.
So Alvin gets up because either he's screaming or Miss Collins is screaming, and he pulls out his gun under his pillow, probably not the safest place to put it, and he bursts into her room and waves his gun at the windows. Are you okay? Are you okay?
It's, I, ha, I don't know. Uh, and she'll be like she'll clutch a pillow to her chest and kind of scuttle her way back against the headboard. I think I need a light on in here. And she'll sort of stumble from the bed to turn the light on in the room.
The gun gets put down. He's like, I need a drink too.
Sorry, I didn't mean to wake you.
Oh, yeah, I was awake. I was awake. Bad dreams, I guess.
There you go. I'll post a picture of what the thing looks like in the Discord.
Oh yeah.
Oh no.
Two very different reactions.
Think we need a bigger gun.
Oh dear. That's not good. Oh, it's
Arden's
got
gonna
two.
walk outside of his room. Walk outside of his room in his bedrobe with his little sleep bonnet with the little dangly stuff on it. So
I heard
you can
sleep,
imagine it.
heard sleep vomit at first, so
In a two-piece pajama with his bedrobe on top with his little bonnet, sleep bonnet. Is everyone all right?
No. No. As Alvin's looking to find a glass of something.
I'll come
Not
to my
probably,
room
probably.
dressed in my pajamas and a bathrobe, but I'm gonna be visibly sweaty a little bit, and I'm gonna already have like a hard liquor on the rocks if our rooms have a little mini bar in them.
They
I'm
did not
already
because of prohibition, but I think
Prohibition.
Volador set you guys up.
prohibition, stupid prohibition.
Dr. Carter shuffles towards Miss Carter, not Miss Carter, but Evelyn and to their room. He's just with his glass of water.
It's a pity
I
Luther isn't here. We could use something stronger.
have the strangest dream.
Oh, strange. Really?
Do you do dream
Tell me that
interpretation?
we all just had the same dream.
No.
Funny, wouldn't it?
Maybe.
You do dream
What?
interpretation, Miss Evelyn?
I'm not
Just
familiar with it, but it's certainly not my favorite topic at this very moment.
just be happy you don't dream like I do. Crazy shit.
Oh,
And don't
it's
think I'm gonna ever forget that dream, though.
Evelyn will
Killing me to my bone.
open her eyes and stare at Dr. Carter.
Yeah, so Alvin does as well.
Still feel it in my bone. You
You
were there
heard me
too.
scream from your room.
The scream in my dream then became the scream in the room. Some creature was screaming, and you were there fleeing from it.
The creature was screaming.
The roads were barren. New York. I think it
It
was New
had
York.
one wing.
It had a body in its tail.
Oh no. Please, don't tell me that. Is
What
that
color
a
was
figure
the
that was...
sky in your world?
Tell me that was something engraved on the wall on the grotto, not that we had the same dream, please. Kindly.
I don't remember that particular thing from the walls.
It felt like something that was deserving interpretation because my mind seems to fixate on a piece of journal that was indicating the 23rd of January, 1986 on it. Normally, not supposed to remember writing in dreams, but this stood out.
I don't remember my dreams normally, so it stood out, period.
I usually keep a
Well,
journal.
I
maybe
remember
I'll try to do
pieces,
some
but this
lucid
one,
dreaming. I might end up lucid dreaming before, but never this vivid.
Volador is wondering what the hell they put in his food last night.
Drugs
They
and
shouldn't have eaten the
cocaine.
worm.
Never eat the worm. It eats back.
Oh shit, that's true. You guys are in a completely different building, having the same
They
dream.
are.
Oh, that's
You-
gonna
you
be
guys don't know
extra
it.
bad.
But you guys don't know it.
Mr. Caputo, you had the stream as well. Could someone translate? I don't know if he understands.
Yes, I will.
Oh. Well, that's
Mr. Caputo, did you dream of the one winged snake carrying away some poor fella?
hmm We were running. There were bodies. Everything was
Streets were
destroyed.
empty. Oh. This is not good.
So, Miss
Um,
Collins, tell me again about this hootenanny stuff.
I'll take this opportunity
No.
to say those of you that are thinking on this dream can give me a Cthulhu Mythos roll.
Oh, thank you.
Damn it!
Ah,
Thank you. May we have some more?
We're not using my sanity anyway.
How is mine black?
Maybe if you don't have the skill.
Oh, okay. So I was
Yeah.
like, how did I succeed with 28?
you're
Chris, you said
blissfully unaware.
the buildings were destroyed, but the streets were empty?
Some of the buildings are destroyed, like a snowy post-apocalyptic wasteland with bodies everywhere.
That's what
That's
I
all.
thought.
So luckily we all failed.
So you remain blissfully unaware of what that creature may have been.
That's for the best.
I would probably think it's just Quetzalcoatl.
Very similar, yes.
We should spend luck. Do it.
I don't think anybody has enough luck.
I missed it by a lot because my Cthulhu Mythos is 3.
I could do it, but I don't see any reason why I'd want to.
Thankfully, I cannot.
He's crazy
Um,
enough as it is. Miss Collins, tell me more about this hootenanny stuff.
Hootenanny stuff? I think I would like to be a little more presentable if I'm going to be entertaining in my room tonight. And if someone could try to find a bottle, that would be lovely.
I think our good friend Volodor has got one.
Was anyone sharing a room with him before he was taken to the hospital?
Oh, I think he stashed some away here. I think Salvatore found one.
That would be lovely. If you could just leave the room for a moment so I could put some proper clothing on, please. And I'll try to answer hootenanny questions.
Dr. Carter's gonna trouble away. I wonder if they send us during of this as a warning of something. Just leave the room mumbling. With a glass of water. Need some tea. Need something stronger.
So
Oh,
once
yes, I give
everyone's
you. Yeah, go ahead.
and once everyone's out of the room, Evelyn will get dressed. And she will grab her journal and start scribbling down everything she remembers.
Okay.
And then sort of crack her door open so that they can come back whenever they're ready.
Okay. Meanwhile, over at the hospital, are Luther and Volodor doing anything in particular?
I'm like kind of trying to decide whether or not I've just had a prophetic vision from the Holy Mother Mary, or if I'm or somebody slipped something really good in those painkillers. And he's not really talking about it, but he's going to pass on the painkillers next time just to test this theory.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I think that Luther and Volator kind of look each other in the eye after they both start awake, sweat pouring off them. Do that little bit of a stare for a second, nod at each other, and I think our goal is to try to get Volator healed. So I understand it's going to take us in a play for a bit, but
Yeah, like 4
Plus,
days.
we're both kind of. Plus,
Yeah.
we both have a bit of PTSD from war scenes.
Yep.
It's not something we're not going to talk about trauma.
We're just waiting for people to come get us. So yeah, we'll be taken out for a bit of this session. We get it, but that's the plan.
All right. Perfect. All right.
I'll take his painkillers though.
Okay.
He'll be passing them to you.
Pocket.
Never know when those might come in handy.
Well, he's the first aid guy, right? So.
Yep. All right. So back to the hotel.
So talk to me about this hootenanny, Ms. Collins.
I'm not sure what you are referring to as a hootenanny. She says as she sits sort of on the edge of her bed, scrawling in a little book. I've written down what I remember. If you could just confirm or
Before reading your text, I'm going to do the same so we can compare notes before I get the full to see if everything matched up.
if everyone could just write down what they dreamt without saying anything to each other further about it. That way we'll know for certain that we all did have the same dream. And once we are reunited with Luther and Mr. Guerrero, we'll be able to compare notes, quite literally. Yes?
Yeah.
Good. Her hands are shaking as she passes out. Just flip to the next page and write what you recall and then pass it on. Her hands are shaking when she passes over the paper and pen.
Or a drink from the bottle we scavenged.
That would be absolutely lovely.
There you go. For the nerve.
Medicinal. Absolutely medicinal. Yes.
In the occult part of my learning, do I know of anything about specific dreams or sending nightmares to people? Is that an occult practice?
I would definitely like to make an occult roll about that.
Straight up ask Evelyn, are we cursed?
Sure, make an occult roll.
I think we've cursed Peru, but not literally.
Not more than usual.
I don't know if cursed is the right word.
I don't know about this stuff.
I usually see the sorts of things that I deal with as more of a blessing or a seeking for knowledge or something.
That's not what I asked.
Of that. I don't think it was something cast on us by someone else. If that's what you're asking. And if that's not what you're asking, then I need you to be a bit more specific.
No, I'm totally asking. Did someone curse us?
I
Because I've never been cursed before. In fact, I didn't think it was possible. But this definitely feels like a curse.
So both Evelyn and Dr. Carter, it's not unheard of for people in tight quarters or people in a communal setting to have related dreams. Your dreams are your subconscious talking to you. So if a bunch of people experience the same thing, the odds are their subconscious is going to show them similar things, but interpreted through different lenses.
especially when we're hearing like the same noise in the background because we're all at the same hotel.
Right. So the fact that all of you experienced the same thing indicates that this is not a dream in the conventional sense.
I'm going to ask again, Ms. Collins.
I don't think it's cursed in
Well, definitely don't feel like blessed, darling.
I don't think it's a curse, but I don't think it's a dream. It's something
I
else.
don't think it's a dream either. If everyone is, I mean, I'll know better when I start comparing everyone's notes, but no, if we all dreamt the same thing, it's certainly not coincidental. But it's not necessarily the act of someone sitting in a dark room with a candle and a bowl of water either. And that means absolutely nothing to you, does it?
I mean, I've heard about Oniromancer that could travel in dreams.
What's
Have you
that?
heard of people? You ever heard of anyone accidentally traveling to somewhere where a giant snake could live?
What is an oneiromancer?
Dream magician?
Did you say dream dancer?
Dream
Someone who
magician.
magician, someone who walks through other people's dreams. And I've never experienced that personally until apparently now. And I am
In the
not
book I read,
entirely certain I'd like to experience it again unless we all decide that we're going to dream something far more pleasant. Although it was rather nice to
you
run.
pretend that some creature might inhabit only the dream realm. But this added prophetic feel to it because of the date. Is something going to befall this town in a year from now?
I mean, I wouldn't call New York a town, first of all. And second of all, there are laws against this, right? There are laws against
What?
There are laws against witchcraft, yes.
There are magical laws that work with magic, but not in a legal allowed or not allowed sort of sense, more like
Okay.
laws of physics and gravity. That's
There are laws against false magic. If you pretend to do magic and it's false, then you can be tried for that. But if the magic is actually real, well, it's not illegal.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna finish this drink. I don't think I'm sleeping the rest of the night.
no, I don't think that's a
That's not on the table anymore.
I don't
But-
think that's a worry.
I will sit by the window with my gun and wait for the rest of the night.
I know it's not in the most calm thing to say, but I've had a read through the book that Elias was looking for.
I'm gonna hand my notes to Miss Collins of my dream, what I jot down. I didn't write down a lot, just really high level, and then I'm gonna sit kind of like in the frame of the window and just half pay attention to everything that's happening in the room while they're talking. While Alvin's clocking out at this point in time.
I'm gonna spare you the most
Threshold's
gruesome
really
part.
low. Alvin's fucked later on.
I'm gonna spare you the most gruesome part, but for what is important for research, the sampling things that were downstairs. These are the book of information on how they were created.
Oh,
It- and they can only be created by bodies that were killed by mutilation. That's why they have been grave robbing their victims.
why they've been carving into their foreheads.
That's why they're not
That-
raising some random body that they've been stealing. They need the body that has died from mutilation.
Would
That's why they're doing this.
would the carving in the forehead be enough mutilation?
Possibly. And the other important thing is that it takes like 18 to 20 hours to raise a body.
Oh,
So if the body disappears, we have this window of time to find it.
I'm almost afraid to ask what happens during that time.
What's the tempting from what I see? Well, and the thing don't stop the body from decaying, so they will be in a bad state if they're older. That's why they keep doing it, is they need to replace their servants.
Ugh.
Why do you need servants? I could not say. Maybe what is in the well, they do not want to deal with themselves.
So you don't think they're just tossing them into the well after they're no longer useful?
I think there might be something down that well, and they don't want to be there when the well is used or whatever. They use the undead to do their dirty job.
Ugh. No
This is
one,
just based on
no one looked
that,
down the well, right?
nope, it was sealed shut, and there was a mechanism to activate it, and I was very uh, far from wanting to open that thing. I'm pretty
Was that
sure I had some Peru shit. Like, it was very well done.
was there, while I'm thinking of it, and so that I can stop thinking about this dream for a moment while you're all finishing writing, except Alvin, of course.
I'm
Um,
done.
Thank you. Was the You said there was a mechanism on the
Yeah,
well?
on the
I'm
lid of
guessing
the well.
to hold it closed?
I think it was a large disc was on it. I think the weight of it was keeping it down, and the mechanism was to raise it open.
Was it attached to the clock?
Not that I remember. The clock was preset.
Oh, good. Good. That's good.
Oh, if there would have been a timer or something else, I would have asked Luther to sabotage it. Like, but it was manually operated. That's why I'm thinking that maybe they were using the undead to do that, and they didn't want to be there when that thing is open. Otherwise, I would advise avoiding that book for bed reading.
I was going to ask if I could borrow it, but
You can just be aware that this is pretty heavy. Like, I was suggesting not reading before going to bed. And I was trying to preserve the sensibility of our friends. You think the man who wrote that was pretty much an eccentric, and the people who got it after have no respect for books.
I'll certainly take good care of it. All right, let's take a look at these. And Evelyn will start going through the notes and sort of just lay them all out across the foot of her bed and start sort of comparing.
Yeah.
And after it,
Sorry, go ahead.
everything's the same.
Everything's
the same, I take it.
Yep.
So just to make sure I have the essentials. We all woke up in the street. It was cold. There's a blood red sky. Some of the buildings are destroyed. Bodies everywhere. Something with a single wing was flying through the air with a body clenched in its tail.
Yep.
We were running and trying to hide, but we could hear it screaming as it tried to find us. And Dr. Carter found a journal with a date in it.
Crumpled up newspaper.
Oh, okay, thank you.
And I also want to specify it was chasing us. We were trying to hide, but bulk was so massive as it was searching, it was knocking over buildings.
Yep.
Gotcha.
And
just
also,
it's not a puppy dog chasing us here.
Yeah.
Right.
And also, you guys noticed that the stars, the few stars that you could see, seemed off somehow.
What was...
Were they off in a way that denotes a passage of time, or just ramble?
You can make a science astronomy roll.
What was lighting the area?
Just the blood red sky.
Oh, okay.
Madness was lighting the area.
Well, I guess
Yep.
it wasn't the moon.
Oh, did we see the moon, or was it just gone?
You did not see the moon.
That's the science story for me. It's not in the skill I can read.
Yeah. And thinking about it there, Alvin, where the moon should have been, it wasn't there.
Roll sanity. No, okay.
Did the moon finally ask? I think I like the permission. Oh.
Yeah, you have no idea what something was not right about the stars. Maybe it's the fact that there was no moon to compare them to. But you're not sure what exactly.
I mean, I wish there was somebody competent in astronomy in a single game, but I don't think it's safe for my mind to be.
All right. But yes, other than like a couple of like very minor details, the
Like the newspaper.
Yeah, but the dreams line up 100%.
Is the body being held by the snake thing familiar to any of us? Somebody we know?
No. And you didn't get that close a look at it. Just enough to tell that it was a human-shaped body. Given the strange creature dragging it, you don't feel comfortable saying it was, in fact, a human. It was probably human. Your brain's going to tell you it was a human.
Let's all enjoy a nice drink from this bowl we scavenged.
Yeah, I
Let's
thought
just all drink straight from the bottle.
when Yorick said, "Do you want a drink from the bottle?" I heard, "Do you want a drink from the bowl we scavenged?" And I'm like, "Well, okay." Let me just open up this book here for no reason.
What a terrible, awful, horrible idea.
This is not any person's speedrun sanity down run.
Speed run through masks. Zero
Let's see
sanity.
how fast I can go insane.
The mask is 4 faces. We could all drink from one of the. If we pour it.
Ew. Gross.
Have you ever had some blood while wearing a mask?
God no.
Alright.
So, good news and bad news. We all seem to be in agreement of what we dreamt. That is both the good and the bad news. What was the
Lie.
result of
Don't
my
see where the
cult
good news
call?
is in all of.
Chris, what was the result from my occult roll?
The fact that it wasn't a normal dream.
Oh, okay. Well, the good news, I suppose, is that we're all in agreement. The bad news is that typically if people are dreaming the same thing, especially a group of people are dreaming the same thing, it's typically thought to be prophetic, which seems a bit odd. So I'm going to hope and expect that there's some heavy symbolism involved.
So you guys start hearing a repetitive, like a rhythmic sound, and it's just Alvin. Term isn't playing with his gun; he's just rotating the cylinder. Click, click, click.
Yeah, Evelyn will look around the room a bit before she identifies where the noise is coming from, and then just sort of watch him for a moment.
Because he's like not looking at you; he's looking at, but like clearly, whatever you're saying.
So I'm going to, I'll start sort of examining the symbolism of some of the things that we saw, as opposed to thinking that this could actually be a factual future occurrence in New York, because that would be ridiculous, despite what we saw in Peru. That was rather minor, I think, by comparison.
Give me yeah, let's call it an occult roll.
And what's the risk of pushing it?
Well, you have to describe to me how exactly you're pushing it.
Evelyn gets up, and opposed to traveling with like a small suitcase, there is a trunk now in addition in Evelyn's room that she had shipped to her, that has some of her more an esoteric assortment of books from her own collection that she will dig through until she finds one on dream interpretation.
Okay. All right. So you can push the roll, but it's basically going to take you like all night and a good chunk of tomorrow.
Oh, she'd be fine with that. She's not planning on going back to sleep. Not on purpose.
Okay. All right. It also means that you won't be able to go. You won't be able to go to Sing Sing in the morning.
The interview, yeah. Okay.
She's quite happy to skip going to a men's prison. given the prison conditions at the time.
Okay.
She wasn't sure that she was going to be invited to that anyhow. And the idea, she had already sort of resigned herself to the idea that the menfolk would be doing that. It doesn't sound like something she should be exposed to.
All right. So you'll be pushing it by taking considerable time. The consequence of failure will be that you will find the links between the dream and the Cthulhu mythos and lose sanity as a result.
Sorry, I was slightly distracted. What was that?
So the consequence of pushing, the risk,
Right.
is that if you fail the second roll, you won't really find any symbology beyond things that connect it directly to the Cthulhu mythos, and you will lose sanity as a result of failing this pushed roll.
Well, she's got an occult of 77, so I was sort of surprised to see that I failed it to begin with. I'm relatively certain my dice don't hate me that much. I'm
7% chance that you succeed.
I'm 76% certain my dice don't hate me that much.
Okay.
But yes, I have some books on symbolism and dreams. I could certainly go through those and see what sorts of suggestions are there for the color of the sky and the lack of a moon and something being wrong with the stars
All right.
and something being carried and the thing that was flying. But that'll take until tomorrow.
Yep. But you can make your roll.
Okay.
Forget all the broken buildings and high rises.
Oh no! What?
Oh no.
Two lower. Just two.
Well, you can still luck that, right?
You cannot use luck on a pushed roll.
No. And I've only got 33 luck at this point.
All right. Let's see.
My dice have betrayed me again.
Oh.
Rolls one.
Come
So
back from Sing Sing, and Evelyn's going to be like holed up in a room with furniture and pointing a gun at the door.
Where did Evelyn get a gun? I don't know.
Thankfully, the dice luck has transferred over. I only rolled a 1 on the sanity loss.
Oh, good. Do you put my sanity down, or do I?
Nope, you can.
Okay.
Yeah. So Evelyn kind of locks herself in her room with her books and her pad and her paper, and starts trying to see what she can figure out about these dreams. The rest of you, Alvin is staring out the window. Dr. Carter and South. I mean, by the time when you guys woke up, it was like 3:15 in the morning, and once the adrenaline and the fear kind of leaves your body, you don't really want to go to sleep, but at the same time, there's this fatigue as your body overcompensates for jolting you into like, oh my god, we're going to die, and now you're just wiped. Try to get what rest you can. Unless either of you wishes to do anything, since you're up anyway.
If you'd like to bring an armchair from your room into this one, I'm not opposed to company tonight. And I don't think that Alvin's moving from that window anytime soon. So all of us in one room might be a good idea.
that if I can move a couch from my room into a common area or here, then or do that with any couch, I'm fine with that.
I know it's a bit scandalous of me to suggest such a thing, but I'm an adult. I'm
Oh,
relatively certain that you all are too.
I'll stay sitting. I'll find a comfy chair. Like if I'm not laying down, it's not improper.
That's a very excellent way of thinking of it. Yes.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna keep it up, but I'd rather be close to anyone if Portrini's come back.
All right.
You can secure a chair. If Salvador need help moving a couch or something, I'll give him a hand.
So the rest of the evening passes uneventfully. You know, people are kind of
Other than Alvin playing with his gun.
Alvin periodically. Every once in a while, you see like a shadow move, and it kind of you start to get like those little micro naps where you kind of like doze off momentarily, and then you see a shadow move, and you just like snap alert, your heart racing.
It's the last thing we need when Alvin's
Click,
got a gun in his
click.
hands.
Click, pause. Click, click, click.
If I was a cruel game, I would start to say like, "Give me a spot hidden roll," but that just seems
Yeah.
unnecessarily mean.
So mean.
But as the morning light starts to come and glisten off the snow on the rooftops and on the streets, as the shadows and the darkness start to dissipate, you start to feel not necessarily better, more safer. As morning comes.
Daylight come and we want to
Yeah.
go home.
So just so you guys are aware, Sing Sing Prison. It is not in New York. You need to travel by train to get there. It's not a super long train ride, but you'll get there by like afternoon if you leave in the morning. So is there anything anybody wants to do in the morning before catching the train?
I guess it's like the only thing that's going to sound a little bit more normal is something along the lines of like coffee. But I mean, that's very easily hand waved. So Alvin will have breakfast and a ton of coffee, and then we'll move on.
Okay. Anybody else doing anything in the morning?
Evelyn will put everything down long enough to have breakfast, coffee, and wish them all luck at their excursion today. You're
Right.
picking up you're picking up Mr. Guerrero from the hospital before you go, or are you picking him up on the way back? Or
Back, I don't want to. If he's resting, he's resting. I don't want to get. I want to give him as much time as possible to rest.
probably be best for his healing. Unless you wanted to bring him back here, and he can just rest here while I'm reading.
You know what? When we're done there, I'm going to give you a call. You tell me where you're at. Maybe we all meet in his room so he doesn't. He
I'll
can be
be here.
aware.
I have
Yeah.
no intention of leaving my room today.
Yeah.
Ask the desk to give them a call.
Sorry, Carter.
At the desk that they give them a call at the hospital.
Yeah, we'll give you a call when we're done. I kind of grab Carter on one hand like this, and I try to put my arm around Salvatore, but he's gigantic, right? And I'm like, let's go, gentlemen. Let's have a date with a prison.
Chris, I'd like to do one thing before we go.
Okay.
Over breakfast, as I read the newspaper, I just want to see if there's any news that could be either related to Juju House or Elias or anything that we've like been experiencing since we got to New York.
Gotcha. There is not. I mean, there's like a little obituary that's still running for Elias, but nothing new. Nothing about Juju House. Nothing out of breaking and entering at it or anything of that nature. You guys are either lucky or they never noticed the break-in. You're not sure, but there's no mention of anything untoward happening. All right. So, Sing Sing Prison. It's about 30 miles north of New York City. So by the time you get to the train station, get your tickets, etc. It is at this point in time, Sing Sing has a specifically built death house because all of the executions in New York State take place at Sing Sing. The death house has been operational for 3 years at this point.
Where is it on the map?
It's not on the map.
Okay, it's not on the map.
It's about 30 miles north of New York on the Hudson River.
Okay, so it's further up, but
Yeah, so it's like kind of up this way someplace.
it's in New Jersey?
Nope, it's still in New York.
Okay.
You guys, make your way to the subwarden's office. The subwarden runs the death house. A gentleman named Mr. Brunton. He's in his early 40s, like close-cut hair. He's wearing like a well-worn three-piece suit. Like he's definitely dressed professional. He's like, so you are the individual that called about talking to Mr. Adams.
ID. I'm like, which way?
It's like, follow me. I appreciate your promptness.
I was up early.
Just as a formality, we do have to ask that you leave anything that might be construed as a weapon.
Absolutely. I mean, except for my friend here. Haha. I mentioned Salvatore because he's big.
Yeah.
I say because he didn't laugh. I was like, because he's big.
I see. We trust that there won't not be any incidents, but I don't see any problem in Mr. Adams having some visitors. Seems the sort of courtesy that we can do for him given his service and all.
So you give us a box or a tray where we put stuff in, or like
He does.
like a coat check.
Kind of like a coat check, yeah.
Do they ask for Alvin's camera?
He does not.
That implies consent.
Yep. And Alvin, you would actually be aware that bringing basically anything into the death house would be a no-no, but the subwarden doesn't say anything at all about it. He's just, as long as you don't have any weapons.
Okay.
Are you going to leave them as the products in? Just in case.
Of course. So he leads you to this like little brick building. There's a bunch of cells in it. It's fairly full, but nobody, as soon as the subwarden enters, nobody's really causing any issues or anything.
Saying they don't have like a dedicated, like in modern days, you have that like room with the glass. So it's not something like that.
It's not.
Okay.
There's no external windows. The only natural light that enters the cells comes from the windows across the corridor. So the cells themselves don't have any windows, but across from the cell. And Hilton Adams is sitting on the edge of his bed, kind of close to the cells. He's
So he's taking us to his cell.
yeah,
He's taking us to the murderer's cell.
yep. They don't have a waiting room in death row. He stays in his cell. You talk to him through the bars.
Okay.
I got a picture of Hilton here. There you go.
He looks innocent.
Hilton's like, I would shake your hand, but I don't think that would go down too well. Would it there, Mr. Brunton? Brunton's kind of like, sorry, Hilton, you know the rules. And he actually seems genuinely sorry when he says that too. Like, don't reach through the bars, don't cause any trouble, and we'll give you guys some privacy. And you do
Appreciate
notice that knowing that this meeting was happening, the cells next to Hilton's are empty. Like he's done what he can to afford some privacy.
Huh. Fascinating. I think it's fascinating. Alvin's like, that's interesting. Mr. Hilton, thank you for taking the time to speak to us.
I don't have anything but time.
And do you get the papers in here?
We're allowed to do some light reading.
I don't know if you heard, but there was a man by the name of Elias. What's his last name again?
Jackson Elias.
Jackson Elias. A man by the name of Jackson Elias. A friend of mine. He was slain 2 nights ago in his hotel room, and we apprehended some of the men that were involved. But
I saw that. I'm sorry to hear about your friend.
thank you. I appreciate that. But what brings me to you is the way he was killed is familiar, and that led to you. And I was wondering if you could shed any light on why or anything around your incarceration.
Tell you what I told Miss Schoenberg.
Oh, I thought you hadn't spoken to her yet. I thought she was trying to reach you.
No, I've spoken to her during the case. She covered the trial quite extensively. She's been doing what she can to help Millie. That's my wife. Find anything that they can to show that I didn't do this.
Well, during the course of the investigation, they probably showed you a lot of stuff, accusatory evidence. Can you share or tell me what they had or what information they had? Because it seems awfully coincidental or it seems the manner in which my friend was killed was similar in the manner that they're accusing you.
Yeah. So, when I got back from the war, a couple of years ago now, I noticed that there were some folks that would go missing around the Harlem area. Police wouldn't do anything, of course. They didn't care. Me and some friends from the neighborhood started kind of keeping an eye on people. Keeping an eye, trying to trying to see if we can find anything that we can get the police to act on. We started noticing that these disappearances, they weren't all reported to the police. A lot of folks don't like talking to cops. But there were a lot of them. Seemed to happen almost monthly. Managed to figure out that they all happened on when the moon was dark. Makes sense if you're gonna abduct somebody. But those are just missing people. Murders. First murder happened a couple years ago.
Years ago.
Yeah, and you guys know that there's been 9 murders over 2 years.
Yeah, but years. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was outside of the boundary of 2 years. Can't carry it.
No. But the murders they didn't seem to have the same pattern as the missing people. We thought that maybe the murders were a result of something specific. Somebody, maybe somebody saw something. Maybe somebody witnessed an abduction. Maybe somebody got too close. I'm pretty certain that the last murder, sorry, not the last, the 8th murder, the one before your friend. I don't know, it was too coincidental. I think that happened just so they could frame me for it. I'd been nosing around a bit, asking questions about people.
Oh, so you were looking into this. That's why
Yeah.
you were a person of interest.
Yeah, me and some friends gathered together, called ourselves the Harlem Hellfighters. Silly name, but when I was in the army, groups of guys would always give themselves a nickname. But when the first murder happened, we saw that it had been a knife. We made sure we left our bolos at home. Took our service revolvers just for protection. But the police, when they searched my room, found the knife. Later on, said it was covered with the victim's blood. But I didn't ever bring the knife with me.
Did you know of the person that you were accused of?
No. Seen him around the neighborhood, but no idea who he was.
Look, we're trying to track down the killer, at least the one who escaped. So there were 4 of them that were involved in Elias's murder. We came in probably seconds too late to stop it.
Well, I saw that a Dr. Lemming had said something about some African cult or something in the papers. The only
Was that something that the Hellfighters were aware of or were tracking?
Well, we were looking into the abductions first, and then the murders. The only place in Harlem that has any ties to Africa is this place called the Juju House.
Juju House.
And the shop's been there for a couple of years, but there's something about that place. It just gives me the creeps.
Do you know if the Hellfighters are still looking into all this stuff, or do they think it's closed with you behind bars as well?
I know they don't think I did it, but one of your friends gets set to be executed, you tend to stop looking at things that got him there. But the Juju House, I was keeping an eye on it a little bit. I didn't get much of a chance before this. But I did. I saw this rather masculine, bald African man, probably in his late 30s, maybe early 40s. would visited Silas fairly often. Followed him to the speakeasy, Fat Mabel's. Kind of asked around a little bit. Nobody seemed really keen to talk about him. A couple of folks downright told me to just walk away, that I didn't want any part of him. But I did get a name. His name is Mukanga Madari. And it was just after I got that name that I don't know.
The hammer fell on you.
Yeah.
Mr. Hilton, since you were taking a look at the Juju house, did you ever notice in the evening a large group of people going in or out?
Not a large group, no, but I only got a chance to watch it for a night, 2 nights. Both nights, this Madari fellow visited Silas, but I didn't see no groups.
I don't want to blow smoke up your ass. I don't know if what we are looking into will help you at all. All I know is that we are looking for people who need to be brought to justice.
Oh,
And I know that you've been burnt by the system. I know that you're put in a position that you're in now because of a gross miscarriage of justice.
oh,
And know that no matter what happens, we will keep looking into this.
I appreciate that. I mean, I don't know who you are, but I know Miss Schausenberg and Millie. They're still looking into things, hoping to find out something.
Is there any records of what that, like when you would gather with the Hellfighters and look into these things? Is there anywhere where there's records that we could look into to see if we can find any other information? Maybe something that you missed.
I don't think so. Millie'd have anything that I had.
And I know that your friends are laying low and you don't want to implicate them in any way, shape, or form. But is there some way to contact someone as who was part of that group?
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, they're not laying low. They're just not looking into things anymore. We used to hang out at Teddy's Saloon.
Teddy Saloon.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Dr. Carter, is there any questions you have for Mr. Hilton? Mr. Adams?
Don't want to put any on this on you, but through your campaign, have you ever been to Africa?
No, never.
So this Kwame, you said, did you hear him speak anything but English?
Sorry, what was that?
The tall, bald fellow you spoke of.
Yes. The African gentleman had an accent. Spoke to Silas, but I couldn't tell you what they said.
And you saw him at the Juju house?
Twice.
Okay. Could you give me his name again? Give me his name again.
His name Madari. Mukanga.
What was the location again? It was
Which location?
the location where you ended up following him to?
Fat Maybells.
Fat Mabel's, that was the one.
Yep. It's a speakeasy. You guys have been there.
When did the implicate because you were on the scene when they came up?
Sorry, I only caught half of that.
When they implicated you? It was because you were on the scene where they found the body?
I was on the scene. There was a body near, and then when they searched my room, they found my knife. Said it had one of the victim's blood on it.
Right. Was the leader of Ireland police implicated with that?
Captain Robson headed up the investigation. Seemed quite eager to get the case closed.
Yeah. And that's why all the murders are contained there, because that guy's on the payroll. Have you ever had any indication that they were involved with anyone outside of Harlem, other than this Madari person?
I don't know. Salas brought in artifacts from an export place.
Chris,
Yep.
I'm a PI. Is there any leads here that I'm not seeing other than this Madari guy, and the Hellfighters? It's
Nope.
Hellfighter,
Yep. The Harlem Hellfighters.
which are the two avenues, and then the third one is the fact that his wife has apparently any records that he would have had. So he had been investigating longer, so we might be able to comb through that for more information that he might not have connected because he wasn't thinking of the cult; he was thinking of the people instead.
Correct.
So those are the main. Okay, thank you. Dr. Carter, can you translate for Salvatore? I'm assuming that you're doing this the entire time. Salvatore, is there anything that you think that came of mind? I mean, you ended up fighting one of them. I don't know if you can describe him, and is it anyone that Mr. Hilton's aware of?
In the alleyway, I can describe him, and I will.
Okay.
Does that sound like someone that you had tabs on, or?
A couple of nights before I was arrested, got jumped in one of the alleys. The guy had jumped. He was wearing a headband like the one that you described, with the red flap on it.
Was that the only time you'd seen someone with a red flap?
Yes.
Thank you very much for your time, Hilton. Unless Dr. Carter or Salvatore have any other questions?
Chris, I don't really have questions, but from just listening to this guy's answers and his mannerisms, can I either do a psychology or psychoanal? The other one, just to see, like, I don't know, tell his mental state, see if, he's a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs kind of thing or anything like that.
Yeah, you can give me a psychoanalysis roll.
I've purposely not mentioned anything about the cult to see if he brought it up.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah. You can tell he seems resigned to his fate. He's not optimistic about getting out. He's not depressed. He's just reached that level of acceptance. Like,
right.
he knows he's going to die here. And he doesn't mention anything about a cult. He does, like, he mentions like that he thinks maybe a group may be involved, which is why he was following. And then Dr. Lemming had mentioned this African death cult like during his trial, there's the bloody tongue. But he doesn't necessarily subscribe to a cult, but a group of individuals acting together, yes.
I'm just going to check on him to see if the warden is treating him well while he's here, and ask him in what regiment he served.
Okay. Yeah. The warden's a nice enough guy. I mean, I understand he's got to just, he's got to do his job just like everybody else. He's got to follow the rules. But yeah, he's a good guy. I wouldn't want his job for anything. But
He hasn't been especially hard on you to ask him.
no, and sometimes late at night when some of the other fellows are sleeping, we sit around and we share war stories. Warden served during the war too, so.
Yes.
What company did you serve?
Sorry?
What company did you serve?
What company did you serve in? Yes.
Give me a sec to get my source to look that up. He was American infantry.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hilton. If you don't mind, I don't know if we'll be able to meet again in person, but do you know if they if I'll try to keep you abreast with anything by mail?
Certainly. Yeah. I
Is there
appreciate
any
you coming all this way.
Is there any messages you'd like us to give to anyone on the outside?
If you're talking to Moshe Schellenberg or to Millie, tell them I appreciate everything that they did, and yeah, I appreciate everything. Just tell them that.
I make a note saying that he doesn't send "I love you" or well wishes to his wife.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Hilton. I wave to the warden.
Okay. All right. So the warden will lead you back out. Thanks for coming. He doesn't get many visitors. It's a shame, really.
What? Why would you say that?
I mean, the man's a soldier, but you can tell when you've done this job like I have, you can tell when somebody's a killer and when they're not. And
I agree with you.
I mean, I've been wrong before. I'm not gonna lie, but I don't think Hilton there. I don't think he's the sort.
I agree with you, warden. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Oh, I forgot to do one thing. Can I just retcon 1 second? Can I ask?
Yeah.
Can I take a picture of Hilton?
Certainly.
I go back and Hilton, if you don't mind, I'd like to take a picture.
Okay.
Flash, and then we leave.
Perfect. You can give me a photography roll just because you may get a chance to improve the skill later.
Woohoo! Chris, when we're leaving, I'm gonna ask. I have to ask Dr. Carter something. Dr. Carter, big question for you. The night that Jackson Elias was killed, was it a new moon?
No, it was not.
But I don't think it was. But instead, the only disappearance happened on the new moon. So I think they kill whenever, but they capture people for nefarious things on the full moon. It might be because of the night of dark, but I think it's for timing.
I think it
I'll
has to
have
do
to
with
double check.
the 21 hours or 28 hours that they need that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
And just so you guys are aware, Dr. Carter, you would know, Evelyn, you would probably know as well, that there is a new moon in 6 days.
Oh, great.
Oh, yay.
Okay, so let's go check up on Volador, and bring everyone up to speed. Let's ring Miss Collins, see if she can meet us at the hospital, so we only have to tell her story once.
She said she didn't want to move. Let's go to the hospital to see if Volor is in a good enough shape to be brought back to the old college.
I mean, she said she didn't want to move, but I also said I was going to call her and offer it. I'll let that be her call.
I thought you wanted to call her from the hospital, but yeah, we can call her from here according to.
Yeah. So we give Miss Collins a ring saying, hey, if you want to, we're going to the hospital to check up on Volador, and we've got some information that we'd like to share to the group as well. I don't know how long she's lost because of her push.
Basically, she missed out on the being able to talk to Hilton.
Okay.
Right. So you guys
So
travel.
I was listening to all of that.
Yeah. Right. So you can. Do you guys travel back to New York?
We do. And we go to the hospital.
All right.
Is Miss Collins joining us?
Sure.
Yay! The gang's all together.
Well,
I tried.
except for Tony.
Except for Luther. Luther's apparently sound asleep.
Jesus, only a madman can sleep after the dream we had. So we spoke to Helton. And as much as I'd like to stand up to Luther, who's asleep here, and tell him he's wrong, I think he's right. It doesn't feel like he's the man who did it. And I don't think he's implicated at all. I don't think he's a cultist.
Well, I don't think we ever did think he was.
I did. Straight up, I thought to myself, it was just someone who was working for the cult that got caught for one murder. Doesn't necessarily mean that he was doing it on his own. He could have been one of many, and I don't think that anymore. I mean, he was tried. There was sufficient evidence, although I don't know what that is worth now.
I think he was railroaded. I thought he was railroaded from the start.
Regardless, he is part of a militia group that was looking out for a string of missing persons in Harlem. In addition to the murders, there's a bunch of people who've gone missing. It's not being investigated by the police or even covered by the papers. They called themselves the Harlem Hellfighters.
And they've gone missing?
No, they were looking into the
Okay.
disappearances. They're vigilantes.
All right. So we got. Does he think they have evidence that we don't have yet?
Well, he said any evidence they have is with his wife, but they all stopped their investigation after he got caught and blamed for the murders. Kind of like they was getting too close, and someone framed him and stopped the entire group. He did mention two things. He was looking into the Juju house,
Right.
and he mentioned a person of interest whose name was Dr. Carter. Did you write that down?
Yeah, Madari Mukanga.
Right, Mudari Mukanga, who's apparently bad news.
Who I thought about being framed too.
I believe it was the other way around.
What do you mean? He was a person of interest that this guy was looking into. that
No,
Hilton was
the
looking
name. The name I think was Mukanga Madare, the other way around.
Oh! I can never tell with those names. But yeah, he's a person of interest. He'd been meeting with Silas, and he's got a very bad reputation, so much that when Hilton was looking into him, people were telling him, I don't want to talk about it or stay out of this guy's business. He's bad news.
Ah, the bad news for me and my Russian friend as well.
No idea. The other piece was that those abductions seem to happen almost every 28 days, always on the new moon.
That sounds kind of witchcraft or voodoo, doesn't it?
It
I don't know what
sounds
it-
Was the
cyclical.
last murder not on a new moon, though?
Yep. Just as a clarification, the abductions happened on the new moon. The murders had no pattern.
Yep. But remember that we are not aware of how many abductions there have been. They're not being investigated. They're not being covered in the news. He's saying there's a lot of them. So pretty much every month.
And what's the date? What's the time of the new moon right now?
In 6
So
days.
it's in 6 days. So Elias wasn't part of that.
Nope. But if you're gonna abduct someone, it's much easier to not be framed for murder if you can never find the body, right? It's almost as if the murders were separate. Sure, ritualistic, crazy cultist people, but they weren't. Their purpose might have been to shut people up or to scare people. The abductions seem more clockwork, more organized.
Murder might be made to make servants and shut people down, but I think abduction work for ritualistic purposes, as they happened on the new moon, might have something to do with the well that was shut down, and they might be using the undead to do the part they don't want to do themselves. But the people who were abducted were used in those rituals in ways that are probably unsavory.
They're probably dead. It's just no one ever found the bodies. That's why they're not being investigated as murders.
Right? So we're
I
given,
see.
or yeah.
Chris, am I stretching here?
No, that makes sense.
Yes. Volador looks kind of distraught at all this, where he's usually pretty jovial or stoic.
So we've been
I
thinking 9
apologize to
murders.
sorry, bad dreams. Bad dreams last night.
Yeah, you're telling us. But it's more than 9 Wait, hold on a second. Did you say bad dreams last night?
Yes.
Before you say anything else, could you write down what you dreamed of?
I brought my notebook.
Or before
Right.
telling us, could you write it down?
All right. I write down the kind of jot notes, no, like 6 stashes with the key points, and hand it back.
While he's doing that, I look over straight Miss Collins in her eyes and I mouth the word cursed.
She'll just
I
shake her
mean,
head.
It's
this invalidates the idea that the environment we're in had an impact.
yeah. So why did you get me to do that?
So Volador writes it down and gave it to Colin, right? His paper? Miss Colin?
Yeah.
When I look through his notes, same dream as we had.
Yep.
Well, shit.
It's the same.
I'm gonna turn to him and say, so I guess you dream of a snake with a one wing carrying something you mounted in his hand and screeching in the night. You were fleeing in New York.
was wondering if they gave me bad painkillers, or I was having an adverse reaction to medicine, or if I was having a prophetic dream. I'm kind of leaning towards the last one now.
Yeah.
Option number 5, we are cursed.
We aren't cursed. Not with this, at least. Curses don't cause bad dreams. They certainly don't cause matching dreams to groups of people.
Is actually wearing a crucifix. he kind of touches it and holds it in his hand there.
So it's not 9 murders. Those are the bodies they left behind. This is at least 1 abduction, likely murder, every month over the last 2 years.
Now I'm starting to lean on Luther's side about
Thumping?
stopping thumping this guy, and burning down his place.
We got to figure out who this not Mbaku, who this guy is, and seeing if we can, if he is related to Silas, if he's outside of Harlem, and if we can leave a wonderful package at his place, and then tip off the cops.
Silas's head.
Does anyone have any other thoughts?
Luther, if he was here, would.
We're going to go see Rebecca and drop all this in her lap.
Right?
And then I suggest investigating this.
I'd go at the Fat Maid Old to try to speak with the other Eldiver, see if they know anything. And
Yeah.
Do we have all the evidence that the wife has?
Not yet. We have to go speak to her.
We need to keep an eye on Madari Matanga.
So we have a lot to do. Volodor,
Yes, sir.
how you feeling?
Feel like I've been stabbed twice in the last week, but I can still punch somebody in the head.
I was going to
And
say
I can still hold a gun.
I was going to say something pithy, like you feel like being stabbed a 3rd time. Come with us. What do the doctors say? How long till you're better?
What's the mechanics on that? Like 4 more days or 3 more days, right?
You get to make a recovery roll on Thursday,
And this is Tuesday,
Monday.
Monday. They'd prefer me to stay in bed, but I never listen to doctors. If I did, I would never be a good wrestler.
I admire your guts.
You've seen
You
them.
got stabbed. Exactly.
Try harder now. I'll keep a little distance. I do have a gun.
So this is what I suggest we do. We drop this information with Rebecca. We give Volador a few days to recover, and we just gather more information. We speak to Mabel. We get the information from the Hellfighters. We're still going to be 2 days before the new moon. Then we start tailing our friend, if we find him, Mr. Madari. Hopefully, we catch these people in the act of the abduction. What do you guys think?
I like it.
I just don't want to bring Volador out if he's in the hospital.
I don't think the mechanics of the game let me. It matters if I'm in the hospital or not in the hospital, right?
As long as you receive like medical care during the time you're recuperating, you'll get a bonus on the roll.
Yeah, but Alvin sees you're in the hospital. He's totally for leaving you in the hospital.
If you'd like, I can stay here with you and you can help me go through this
Anything
dream.
we recover?
Make any sense of it.
Can you do more than that? Can you go through any evidence that we find so we can just bring it to you and you guys can go over it?
We could, certainly. I'm not sure how useful we'd be able to be, but
What do you think, Tyler, some acquaintance to try to get a better lawyer for Mr. Ilton?
I don't know. I don't think he needs a lawyer now. I think we need evidence before we get a lawyer.
Yes, but I'd like to ask a lawyer to maybe do things he can to delay his executions to make sure we have time to find the proof we need to find if there is any proof to find.
Chris,
That's
how
really
long
bad
before
news.
that?
Before the execution?
Yeah.
Yeah, like a couple of months.
Okay. As much as I agree with you, I think finding the real killers and bringing them to justice does most of that work.
Something for his well-being. Right. But as I asked him, the warden didn't seem to be part of the corruption that brought him here. I don't think there will be anything untoward happening to him inside. Like,
He looks like he's
keeping his
being.
day.
I feel like he's being taken care of well as can be anyway.
If there was traces of the corrupted people being that close to him, I mean, spiritual errors and his execution date being brought sooner and stuff like that happened. So, but since the warden seems to be of a good kind, I don't think that would happen.
Okay, so next steps though. We could take this to Rebecca.
Yeah. Maybe she has the thing that maybe she can tell us if the wife has allowed us to speak with her.
I don't know if we need to speak to the wife. I don't think she was involved. But what we can do is give this to Rebecca and ask for Rebecca to get his information from his hell fighters. If she doesn't already have them, then she can give them to us. It makes her work while we're going off chasing a different lead. In this case, it would be Midari and the other hell fighters.
Yeah. Great.
Yep.
How far is the Scattering University by train?
Basically, it would take you like. Which university did you want to go to? Because there are some here in New York.
Miskatonic. The one where the Australian fellow is.
Oh, Miskatonic. Miskatonic would take you like. It would be a full day there and back.
Like in Boston or
Okay.
something. Near
Miskatonic.
Boston.
Miskatonic is in Arkham.
That's near the asylum, right?
Well, the asylum is in Arkham. There's several
If we
several asylums in Arkham. It's a different place.
was the document from the expedition in the Arkham? The document from the psychologist who saw the surviving member file.
No, they are here in New York at the State Medical Board.
I have no idea we could get access to that, but I'd like to find a way to get access to that. Just trying to find all the leads that we need to follow.
Yeah, the Dr. Houston's medical records are here at the basically the medical board's office. And um, Elias's kind of rambling note also referenced books that were in the Carlisle vaults, and the Carlisle estate is north of New York in Westchester.
Okay.
It's where his
So
sister lives.
three things I'd like to follow up on eventually. When you speak with the journalist, maybe he knows something. He has a trick to get access to medical files. At least he has a contact that would make it possible.
We could trade potentially.
I'd really like to get access to those files.
Okay, so let's.
I think we have the inkling of the plan. Let's book a meeting.
Let's book a meeting with Rebecca, and then we'll work on getting more dirt, more info to our what's it called? To our canvassing of the neighborhood, looking for this Madari guy. Get what information we can from him before we act on anything. Just get more of everything. Figure out how we can set these people up. All of it before the next new moon.
That puts a time limit on us. It's pretty tight.
Days.
Look how much we've got done in the last 3 days.
Perfect. All right.
Okay, Chris, we're going to book a meeting with Rebecca.
Okay. All right. Rebecca will be able to meet with you on Tuesday.
Today's Monday, right? So tomorrow.
Yep. She'll be able to meet you tomorrow, and she will also. She's managed to touch base with Millie, and Millie would like to speak with you as well. So she'll arrange both
Fantastic.
meetings at the same time.
Millie was the
And-
wife.
Millie is the wife.
I was wondering one thing. The body of Elias is kept at the morgue, not the morgue, but the funerarium right now.
It is.
Do you want to check on it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have time to. And if we can bribe someone there to check on it regularly, because
That's fair.
Yeah.
I suggest, except for Volador, who should stay here, we split up in two. Go check on the body, and I'm going to take Miss Collins to the library. I'm more
are?
interested in this. Yes, I'm more interested in finding out about this dream dancer stuff.
All right. So as we wrap up and set things up for next week, Rebecca will meet you and Millie Adams at the Lafayette Theater, which is in Harlem, on Tuesday afternoon. You guys have some solid leads to investigate, especially this new figure that has popped up, this Ndari, who seems to, from what Hilton told you, has a bit of a bad reputation around the Harlem area. Like Hilton was told, you don't want a part of that, and kind of warned off. So you're gonna do some look, see if you can find out something about him. Figure out if you can anything about this this shared dream, and we will pick things up next week.
Awesome.
I'm
was
still
cool,
calling it
especially.
a curse.
So the last thing that we'll do. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say I'm still calling it a. Alvin's going to still call it a curse. It's what he knows.
Yeah. Perfect. So on your character sheet, you can roll the recover luck to see if any of you get any luck back.
I would say I could be so lucky, but not so far.
Only been able to do that.
6 points! Holy crap!
Nice. Has Tony been able to get his luck rolls?
Yeah, I make them for him. He's not had any luck.
Ha
I
ha.
wasn't. I didn't have any. I didn't have the time to click on it. Did you roll it for me?
Yep.
Good luck.
It takes a bit of time to get the luck.
So I
Recover
have
luck point.
43 points of photography. I've probably taken 6 pictures during the campaign so far, and I have not succeeded a single one.
You have a. Well, I mean, it's an old timey film, right? You have to like have a tripod. You have to have like a flash pan.
Yeah, all kinds of things.
All of the
My
things.
occult is in the 70s and I failed it twice in a row. Don't feel bad about your photography.
Fair.
All right.
Yeah, that's why the skill I wanted to be sure to win at. I got like 90 in it.
Perfect. So we will pick this up next week. We had a session where nobody got injured.
All
And,
right, high fives, everyone.
the two people who faced sanity losses, I rolled abysmally low on d10s.
Yeah.
It makes you feel better. I still only have 3 out of 13 hit points.
Uh huh.
Nobody got injured because Guerrero was already in the hospital.
There you go. He stays in the hospital. No one will get injured.
He's
And
he's our
and
meat shield.
Feel like a voodoo doll is what I feel like.
Actually, wait.
if you want to
Pretty
read
close.
Just as I think it'd be fun.
Oh no.
Evelyn, give me an occult roll.
Oh no.
Evelyn, if you want to read the Dark Sacks, the book is available for you if you want to risk it.
22.
Successes.
Ooh, you got a hard success. So kind of like thinking, going like, oh, nobody got injured because Volador's already in the hospital. And then you realize that the reason Volador's in the hospital is because Volador lost a lot of blood in the basement of the Juju house. And then you start thinking about sympathetic magic.
Oh no.
And how
Oh, I get it.
in order for sympathetic magic to work, you need something that belongs to the person.
Mm-hmm.
Like a voodoo doll covered in blood.
Ugh.
Like the fact that they got his blood the first night, so of course they were able to hurt him the second time.
Uh-huh.
Oh dear.
But yes.
It's fine.
We're going to need to have a talk about retaining one's bodily fluids inside the body. Where it belongs. Everyone's.
All right.
Everyone's.
It's gonna be difficult every time we get into a fight to make sure we don't bleed.
Or at the very
Hey.
least that we mop it up very, very well before we go.
The pointy end goes in the other man.
Ideally. That's what I've heard, yes.
Volador has bled so much that the bottom of the Juju house looks like it was in an Evil Dead movie.
Give me some.
I mean, we are
Just painted it
in
red.
his defense. We are in an Evil Dead movie.
Yeah.
I mean, kinda.
Not yet. Apparently, the Evil Dead remake, they used 10,000 gallons of fake blood.
Really?
Shit.
The Evil Dead remake, was that Evil Dead 2 or is there a new one I haven't heard of yet?
Oh no, there's Evil Dead, then Evil Dead 2, then Army of Darkness, and then a couple of years ago there was like a remake reboot done by
Sam Raimi.
no, Sam Raimi produced it. Sam and Bruce produced it. And I can't remember the name of the director, one of like the European horror directors, I think.
They
and
made
then there was the
another
TV
Evil
series.
Dead.
yeah,
No.
it's really good. And now there's a new one coming called Evil Dead Rises. And then there's the series Ash versus the Evil Dead.
And there's also Evil Dead the musical, where they warn you if you're sitting in the first 3 row of it, you need to have like a coat
Your
against
Gallagher
rain.
wear on.
Yep.
You're gonna get blood, and they guarantee 5 different colors of blood.
All right, guys,
yeah.
I gotta go to bed because I am exhausted. Like
All right.
I'm
Yeah.
barely conscious. Have a good night, everyone.
Have a good night,
Good night,
folks.
guys.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks for
We'll
everything.
see
Chris?
everybody next week. Yes.
Yes, Chris. Question for you: are these sessions